All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be speaking with an individual who is prominently featured on the inaugural Tarps Off Fight Club event, which goes down on December the 18th. We have the vacant lightweight title up for grabs. Dominic Clark taking on Scott Hudson, and happy to be welcoming Scott on the show once again. How's everything going, man? Seems like you're en route somewhere. What's up?
Yeah, I'm just driving right now. I'm just pulling into my place. Everything is fantastic, man. How are you?
No, I'm doing well. Appreciate you asking. What were you getting up to today? Some Aegis MMA work, or what was kind of on the itinerary today?
Yeah, just training and, coaching. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's so cool to see that space up and running and people back in it, though, and cool to see the linear sense of, Parabellum still out there and everything like that. I imagine that's an important thing for you, too.
Yeah, it was a rough year with the gym closed down there, and, we still got our work in. We were going to Niagara Top Team quite a bit, and I own a pretty small gym that we can train out of as well. But it was nice it is nice now to have a space where we can train together as a team and have more space. And I think it takes a lot of the pressure off of our coaches as well, where they have a place that they can call their home.
Yeah, glad to see for everybody involved there. But, you were talking about, coaching different people and stuff like that. I'm wondering, because I've talked to certain fighters who teach people technique, and in certain instances it kind of gives them a deeper understanding of the technique. Is that kind of a similar thing for you? Does teaching people technique give you even more of a nuanced kind of perception of it?
Of course, man. I've been coaching for maybe 5 years now, and when I first started coaching, I noticed that when I was showing technique, there was lots of things that I've done a million times, but I've never actually said the words. And it made me really kind of slow everything down and sort of have to actually verbally break technique down, which, yeah, of course, it helps you understand it better. And it forces you to review technique over and over and over again, specifically, fundamentals that are extremely important to us.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And kind of wanted to touch on the last sort of, XFC go around there. Just that seemed like a bit of a bummer, just the situation with, the positive COVID test and stuff like that. How are you feeling though with all of that thereafter? It seems like some athletes can vary in, how the reaction is and stuff like that. Was it a bit of a rough go with it, or just, largely asymptomatic, or how would you characterize that?
Yeah, so when I actually got COVID, I was kind of fucked up for a couple weeks. It was pretty shit, and it's weird how it hits some people and not others. Because I think there was a group of us that trained together that got it, and some people were kind of like me that were just kind of on the couch for a couple weeks doing nothing, and then some people, barely had the sniffles, right? And it took me a couple weeks to kind of get back into it after I recovered, but then after that period, I was fine. I have no long-term effects of anything going on in my lungs. It was just kind of on the couch in bed for a couple weeks.
Yeah, well, that's great, man. I'm glad to hear you're doing all right and feeling better. And yeah, the whole thing is very unusual, and as far as how there's almost a continuum of how certain people can get affected by it. But I'm curious with the broader XFC situation there. Obviously you have a Tarps Off Fight Club bout coming up to close out the year, but I guess what happened there, obviously withdrew rather from the Kurt Hollabaugh fight there, part of their semifinal lightweight Grand Prix. Has there been any dialogue with them about getting a future fight with them? Was it mostly predicated on the Grand Prix involvement? Is it something that you even want to get into? I'm fine with whatever. I was just kind of curious, I guess.
Yeah, so I had to pull out of the Hollabaugh fight because of COVID, right? And
yeah.
they just went along without me and replaced me in the tournament, and Hollabaugh won that semifinal, and they still haven't done the final. I'm not sure what their plan is with it, but that didn't work out for the card in May. And then they offered me Kenny Cross in August that I said yes to, and then I guess he was still not recovered from his Achilles injury, so that didn't happen. And then I asked them to get me another opponent, and they offered me somebody. I said yes. And then that didn't happen for whatever reason. I'm not really sure. And then that was basically the end of it. And they never they were fine to deal with, but the contract's up now, so I got to go somewhere else. And I mean, if they would have had me, keep fighting. And to be fair, they did offer me a couple fights, but it just never worked out. So I'm moving on.
Yeah, no, it seemed like the timing just maybe didn't line up, but like a pretty amicable sort of thing. I mean, you have a fight locked in and stuff like that, and I imagine you're excited about that, just to be able to get one in the calendar year, regardless of the promotional banner specifically.
Yeah, well, I'm happy that I'm really happy to be, fighting back in Canada in front of a live crowd, and it was pretty frustrating. Trying to figure out what my competition schedule was going to be like through this pandemic, and sort of not uncertainty around travel restrictions and whether or not promotions are going to run shows, and if they are they going to have fans, and all this stuff. It was just frustrating times, not just for me. I know there's a lot of fighters that went through the same thing, but I'm really happy to be able to get one more in before the end of the year. But this is I'm in the prime of my career, and I'm the least active that I've ever been, which is frustrating. But I can only control what I can control. So when the call comes, I'll be ready, and that call is for Tarps Off on December 18th in Niagara Falls.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, is there a level of maybe, I guess, tempered expectation heading into the new year? Is there almost a sense of enthusiasm? Oh yeah, it seems like certain things are opening up, or just the rampant uncertainty of how the pandemic's unfolded so far? You're kind of just cautious optimism, see what happens. Are you even thinking about the upcoming calendar year?
Yeah, of course. It's hard. It's hard enough to kind of make long-term plans as a fighter in just your everyday life. But I would like to have something concrete about scheduled events and stuff like that, but that doesn't seem to be happening. And like I said, I can only control what I can control, and I'm not sure what's going to happen after this event. These guys have been really good to me so far, and everything's great, and I'm really looking forward to going in there and fighting. But yeah, especially with government restrictions and stuff like that, it's hard to be optimistic. I want to say that I'm cautiously optimistic, but I mean, everything's been a constant letdown. But other people are in a worse off spot. I was lucky to get one at the end of 2020. I'm lucky to get one now. But yeah, I mean, ideally, I'd be way more active.
Yeah, like you said, it's great that it, turned out the way that it did. I mean, there's a bit of a localized connection, too. I mean, not like you're unfamiliar with the Niagara Falls, just Niagara region competition in general, just the BTC 8 victory that you had there and stuff like that. And just, the first time fighting a couple years in Canada, I saw in the Instagram post. So that must be a huge fire up for you, I would think.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like you said, I bet my last fight in Canada was a main event at the same venue. Title fight. It was one of my better fights, and I expect more of the same. So I'm really hungry to get in there. I'm glad that they're doing it in Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls is actually it's a really good fight city, and it actually has a deep connection to combat sports, and the support that I had there last time was fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to getting back in there in Niagara Falls and putting on a show. 5 rounds. It's going to be a really good fight, good opponent.
Yeah, you talk about the Niagara Falls connectivity with combat sports and everything like that. Do you mean solely on a localized level with your career, or are there some other different combat sports happenings in that general area that just have a special place in your memories, as it were?
Not necessarily in my memories, but they have a strong history in boxing.
Oh yeah, for sure. I just didn't know if you had like a specific kind of like recollection of like an event you'd been out to there, or just like stories from some of the different people throughout the scene, that kind of thing. But yeah, definitely a vibrant scene.
It's a blue collar town, and like a lot of the local fighters get a ton of support from the city behind them. And I know that I don't live there, but I like to fight in places where people appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm very much excited to be checking that out too. I think just the Niagara region in general seems great for that. Like the St. Catharines show BTC put on a little bit ago seemed like there was some great people coming out, and just, yeah, great to see a collective of people cheering for something, you know what I mean? Something to get people gathering about. Yeah, you love to see it for sure. But no, it was good. It's good to see that you're kind of getting like readjusted to like the lightweight ranks and stuff like that. I mean, like the Dewan Owens fight last time was in that division previously, though more like a 165 sort of thing. Like, is that the path you're looking at going forwards? Because I know you've been in different weight categories. Is like 155 kind of the path you're looking to keep going on from here on out?
Honestly, like I probably won't stay at 155 unless I get signed to like a major promotion. Like unless it's one of the big three, I'll probably, try to hang around super lightweight or go to welterweight or something like that. But unless like the money's good, I'm probably not going to stick around here because it's a pretty big cut. It's not even that like I can't do it. It's just it takes like a ton of distance. Like it's not even, I don't even want to be one of those guys that complains about the weight, because at the end of the day, I chose to be in this weight class. But I mean, I'm getting a little bit older. It's getting harder and harder to do. It's harder on my body. So like, I can't really make a decision on the phone with you now. But like, unless the money's really good or the opportunity is really good, I'll probably fight at a higher weight class, to be honest.
No, I totally get what you're laying down, man. I still find it weird that 165 isn't like a broader instantiated weight class. Like, I mean, some promotions do it, obviously, and I think it's been a great option for a lot of people, but you'd expect to see it on like a wider kind of scale at the very least. But then some people think more weight categories in MMA isn't a great idea. But I mean, I vehemently disagree with that. I think, yeah, there should be like different increments, and super lightweight would stand out as one to me, for sure.
Well, like I think that just based on male body type, like 70, 45, 55, there's more 55ers than there is anybody else. So it's not going to like hurt competition at all. It would be an exciting division, and that's a 15-pound jump between lightweight and welterweight. And if you think about like even between middleweight and light heavyweight, that's 20 pounds. Like that's unreasonable space in between weight classes, especially in a sport that is as popular as it is now. You know what I mean? 15 years ago, okay, maybe there's not like the talent pool to fill those weight classes. Now there 100% is. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think it's crazy, but and there are promotions that are willing to do it, but it really does take like a UFC to set the tone on that type of thing.
Yeah, if anything, I find like the Canadian regional scene has been great with that. I mean, like I mentioned your championship within BTC, but Unified MMA has also done a good job of having a super lightweight category. So at least Canada's trying to do their part.
Yep, and there's clearly fighters that they want to promote at that weight class, so it's there, and there's going to be guys who are like me, who may be a little bit too big for lightweight and a little bit too small for welterweight, to be honest, right? It is what it is, like a little bit of an in-betweener. It's hard to find that balance, right? And it's based on, like, my body type. It's not like I get too heavy or I can't stay light enough. It's just, you know what I mean? I'm a lean guy. I'm 6'2". You know what I mean? Like, I have the frame for 170, but maybe not the sort of just natural size, you know?
Yeah, I mean, when we talked at BTC 6, I mean, I probably would have, thought the weight class would have been set up within, like, the next couple months thereafter. But, here we are. But any event, you got a big lightweight title fight coming up here, and I'm curious as to your thoughts on your opponent, Dominic Clark, here. From what I'm seeing, a Combate veteran, competed in Bellator, and pretty well-traveled individual. Like, have you been doing a certain level of tape study, or someone in your camp, like maybe Lyndon Whitlock or someone like that? Like, I guess, what are his main stylistic proclivities and the big tools he has, you've noticed?
Yeah, I do a little bit of that, but I mostly leave it to my coaches. And Dominic Clark he's a veteran. He's got a ton of fights. He's fought everywhere. He's really well-rounded. I think I should have some size on him, and I think that I have the ability to kind of like a little bit better of a finishing ability. Like, I think I might be a little bit more versatile in my attack than he is, but he's a fighter that deserves respect. The fact that he's willing to travel up here and compete, I think is admirable. And, I'm taking him really seriously. And, yeah, he's just one of those guys, to be honest, I've fought this guy before, not this exact guy, but I fought like a very similar fighter before. So I don't think it's going to be anything new for me. And to be honest, I don't really think it's going to be anything new for him. So it's going to be, it's just going to come down to execution when the time comes. And, I'm thinking that, I'll be able to finish him. And, I know he's going to give me a good fight. I'm going to come ready. And I think I've proven, listen, you've seen me fight a ton, Dylan. There's not really a lot of mystery about what I want to do to you or about what my skill set is. And, I think I've shown time and time again that it doesn't take me long to find where I'm going to beat you and then just exploit it over and over again, round on round. And that's my plan. And I don't have a problem saying that out loud because it's done me well. And I think that, I should be confident in that, and I think that's how it's going to go. I think I'm going to, feel him out, find his weakness, then, go back to that well over and over and over again until he breaks.
Yeah, I mean, you've been training for so many years at this point, man. I mean, you were living in a tent in the jungle at one point, ripping it out in Thailand, so bringing out those skills for the Niagara faithful.
You know it.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And just, obviously the technique very refined and on point. But I thought one of your Instagram posts was really cool because you were saying oh yeah, try to make yourself look best on Instagram a lot of the times. But then you were showing some of the different almost bloopers almost or different outtakes, the different strikes that didn't work out. I thought that was really cool. Is that something you're putting out there to some of the different martial artists almost just to be hey, you don't have to be this infallible character all the time? Obviously there's going to be a couple instances where things don't pan out. What was the motivation in posting that there? Because I thought it was neat.
A lot of it is for my students too. A lot of them they don't get something right or they're not successful with a certain technique and they have these little freakouts and it's you're mostly going to fuck up in this sport. You know what I mean? If you're a world-class fighter, you only land at a 30% clip. You know what I mean? So you mostly miss, you mostly screw up. Right? So when that happens, don't have a massive freak out. And again, I think I'm pretty transparent with that type of stuff and it's good. And it was a really funny clip, you know what I mean? Which is most important. I wanted people to watch it and laugh, right?
Yeah, it seemed Lyndon was having some fun with it too, holding pads and stuff like that. And it seems like you're having fun with the TikTok in general there.
Yeah, I've been off of TikTok for a little bit. It's too time consuming, right? But I think Instagram is my prime social media, but yeah, the TikTok was just it's too much. It's too time consuming. I don't have space for it.
Yeah, it's my brother with TikTok. He keeps trying to get me on it more and stuff like that. And he's oh, bro, you spend hours on it. I'm I don't know that I need that in my life. It sounds fun, but yeah, I get what you mean. Time consuming.
I gotta be selective about where my attention goes. And yeah, it's just at times, it's just too much. There's only so much time in the day, you know what I mean? I got shit to do.
Yeah, obviously training very diligently, coaching people and stuff like that. But in non-martial arts kind of endeavors, when you're just sort of decompressing almost, what do you find yourself getting up to a fair bit? It seemed you were out there with the wife a fair bit in the summer, taking in some great nature and scenic views from what I could tell. What do you get up to when you're trying to decompress and not, engaging in martial arts related activity?
Yeah, so we have a property up north, and we spend a lot of time in there in the spring and summer. So that's our go-to. And a couple of summers ago, I took up golf.
Oh, cool.
I'm completely obsessed. You know what I mean? But now, this last past summer, I was getting out 2-3 times a week, getting in 2 or 3 rounds a week.
That's awesome. So you're going to be getting out there this upcoming summer, I would guess, refining the technique that much more.
Man, I'm going to be I'm kind of having to take a step back to train for this fight, but as soon, I'm taking lessons and everything. As soon as, I have the time, I'm going to be going, indoor golf, in the simulator. I love it.
Yeah, so this is a really big passion. It sounds like it's more than a hobbyist kind of thing almost.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, that's cool that you're like getting so into that and everything like that. Great to have the different interests and whatnot there. But I don't think I've ever asked you this in an interview before, and it's a very random question to end things off on. But like one of the bigger Scott Hudson Google searches that pops up is for a WCW commentator from back in the day. It's like a pro wrestling analyst and stuff like that. Did you ever get that when you were younger? Like people mentioning that to you, or did you follow wrestling at all, or was there not so much of a Scott Hudson overlap?
Oh, I was completely obsessed with wrestling when I was a kid, but that's sort of like an obscure person. You know what I mean? It's not exactly who you think about when you think about like wrestling commentators.
Fair.
And I actually got, I've got like some like new branding and some new walkout shirts coming out that are. I'm not going to tell you right now, but you will see it, and they're heavily WCW influence, and I am so fucking pumped on these. And I don't care if like there's a complete generation of people that don't get it. I've never been so hyped on a logo. I've never been so hyped on sort of like what I have coming out, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, I'm really glad I asked you that question now. I thought it would be kind of like a dopey sort of question, but now I'm fired up. Now my brain's, the gears turning.
I loved wrestling when I was a kid. Loved it. Obsessed.
Well, that's awesome. I think that's like one of the better notes to end things off on for sure. Now I'm all excited, but is there anything you might want to add kind of as a parting thought as we're wrapping up here though, Scott?
No, I just want to encourage everybody to, buy their tickets to, Tarps Off Fight Club, December 18th in Scotiabank Centre. Events like these have been few and far between over the past couple of years. So, like, not only should you buy the tickets, you should stay in a hotel, you should go out and eat dinner, you should stimulate the economy. This is all good stuff. Like, make sure that you support the city that's holding this event, support the company that's holding this event, support the fighters, and go out there. Spend your money, buy drinks, go out for dinner. And this is good stuff. This is good stuff, and we need it. People need this. Like, let's do it.
You get me fired up here. I'm going to have to go run around the block or something. I'm really excited for this fight and everything. And yeah, I can't wait to be there and check it out live in person, get to see Scott Hudson compete and taking on Dominic Clark for that TOFC lightweight championship. But yeah, thanks for coming on the show, man. Always awesome talking. And yeah, looking forward to, checking out the fight there. And hopefully you have a good rest of your night and best of luck in the remaining stretch of the preparations too.
I appreciate that, man. Anytime.